Chapter 16. The Collective. Alex spotted many feet within close proximity to one another, an impressive blockade. "Stay back," he warned. From behind, booms echoed, urging Alex to turn his head. A group of openings behind a cloud of smoke had been created. David emerged first, followed by Reese. The rising wall on the cave's inner end revealed collective soldiers in an identical stance to the Alliance, weapons raised upwards, prepared to kill. "Don't attack, we're not here to invade," Alex shouted. "I know, we saw the battle," a voice replied. The identities of the collective line remained hidden by masks of a commander, hiding their faces and distorting their voices. "You saw that Hives attacked me first?" Alex asked. The masked figure dissipated his covering, revealing that Commander Green was alive. "Good to see you," Alex responded. "Likewise," Commander Green said. The other figure removed their covering to reveal Hazel was also alive. Alex spotted fresh corpses dotted across the floor behind the collective line. The walls were riddled with bullet holes. "I want to make it clear that I'm not with the Hive," Alex declared. "If you were, we would be dead," Green guessed. "We heard your story. You're right about the Hive changing. Hazel and I both saw it personally. Hives wanted to have us killed after that. Even in a time like this, we're still fighting with each other." "The way of man," David said. "Or just Hives was a prick," Reese said. "He's the reason you remain breathing." "Still a prick." "We're not with the Hive either," Hazel said. "I would know if you were," Alex stated. "You're with us then, our alliance." Commander Green nodded in agreement. "Do you mind sharing weapons?" "We do have some spares," Hazel offered. Her eyes cast backwards to the bodies. "Especially now." Alex kept his remaining cannon on a low frequency in preparation for a sudden attack, while thrusting himself back into the lead of collective soldiers who walked him towards the base. The large open room was multifaceted. At the back end was a gathering of sleeping rolls packed tightly together. On the right side, an influx of old-world weapons hung from gun racks, some of them being idle mecha suits. Those within the collective began the process of moving their deceased comrades. As they were transferred, turmoil gripped Alex. He speculated that through faster movement, he would have been able to stop the civil skirmish and convince them to join his cause in the upcoming battle. "Who's the leader of this alliance?" Green asked. "Me," Alex replied. "Then come take your pick, I'll get mine ready," Green offered, sending Alex towards the mecha suits. There were only a few left to take. Each held an allure. The most common one comprised of fading red and blue. The red was striped. One line ran down the middle, the only two extended throughout the arms, leaving the rest of the mecha to be painted by a frosted blue. Alex hastily picked a suit within the center, for time burned away. It was golden in color. Its left arm was donned by a trio of silver barrels. Once within it, the armor closed onto his body, allowing him to experience the full power of a mecha for the first time. His previous experiences with them were punctured with glitches, diminishing their potential. Once connected, his limp right arm jumped with life. He could sense that it gave him the same abilities as his previous cannon, allowing him to craft differentiating melee weapons. The left barrels had distinct purposes. One would stream plasma, the second held a magnetic pull. The third could spark fire and ice. Underneath its great power, Alex sensed a limitation, for it had the ability to make large, unnatural jumps, but didn't have enough strength to sustain flight. "It's going to be weird going back to the city," Hazel mentioned whilst Alex adjusted to his suit. Alex froze, remembering his promise that Zone 6 would not belong to any single faction in the battle's aftermath. "The collective shouldn't expect to stay long," Alex warned. "Zone 6 was ours," Hazel said. "The citizens come first," Alex sternly decided. "But we deserve it." "They do more than us. We're supposed to stick together." "I'm not from the collective anymore." "But where is there to go? The world is much bigger than a few zones." "No. "Well, wherever you go, the collective will eventually take it." "I know, that's the problem," Alex admitted both to Hazel and himself. Behind Conrad's defeat, a second obstacle would present itself. Factions fighting endlessly over leadership. Human lives would be taken vainly. Alex looked to the collective faces, wondering how quickly they would turn from ally to foe. "It's not a problem, it's what we do," Hazel declared. "And after this battle, you have the choice to go anywhere, don't get stuck," Alex suggested. "I wouldn't just leave like that. I gotta be a private because they saw me winning a few fights as a citizen. It took too much hard work." Who taught you to fight? My family. At some point they were killed? Alex speculated. Yes. Then we have the same story. Did Amishmen kill your parents too? No, I barely even remember it. All I know is they certainly were a part of something much bigger than us. Whoever it is, the collective will stand by your side. I'll stand by your side. I already hate them almost as much as I hate Amishmen. You'll have to get used to them, Alex stated. Why? They're a part of the Alliance. Hazel crossed her arms. I haven't seen one since my parents died. It will be hard. Your mind and body will tell you to lash out, but it isn't their fault. The collective, we did the same to them. Plus libertarians, technicians, loyalists. Other groups who we didn't even know had a name. They have forgiven us because we are bound by our true enemy. The Hive didn't force them, Hazel defended. If it had, would you have forgiven them? What if it was the collective then? Would you hate us? We were just as awful as the people who killed your family. Everybody has it in them. Don't be mad at the Amishmen. Be angry at what we all are. Use it as fuel in battle to protect the people who guide you. The collective isn't like that, Hazel rapidly sputtered. If we were at full strength, then we would have been peaceful. We were once the center of the world. We were worse than the Hive. The young Hazel frowned as she pondered his words. What's it like out there? Terrifying, Alex admitted, but worth it. Hazel nodded in interest. Do I have to be friends with Amishmen? Not friends, Alex said, but have some courtesy. I understand that you feel alone. I did when my family died, but you're not. The Alliance is on your side. Let's get this done, Green said. The collective soldiers stood in a still formation, patiently waiting for a catalyst that would instigate movement. The group left the cave and marched in a strict formation in silence, driven to save the world from tyranny. The loudest aspect of their procession was the few vehicles that they brought forth which purred, bellowing a low vibration. The collective were brought to the Alliance. Lonnie had found a rallying point in the form of a building meant for educating collective citizens. The structure was abandoned and ripe for residents. The small army gathered within the grass field next to it. The greenery had oddly not grown in the aftermath of neglect, for the false blades stretched to a few inches high. Their location was off the main road. At various points, large signs sprang from the earth, projecting messages of collective vitality through pictured depictions. One showed the treaty that brought the world together as one. Another gave the impression that collective citizens lived with over-robust happiness as they navigated within Zone 6. Lonnie was elevated above the gathered army on a middle section amongst a diagonal ascendancy of silver benches. How have they been getting along? Alex asked. A few fights here and there, Lonnie revealed. Alex nodded. Is there anything you want to say? Lonnie shrugged. It's your alliance. I'm just a part of it. A speech would be wise, David suggested as he trudged upwards with Reese. I have heard whispers from all sides that they want to take Zone 6 for themselves. Guide your people so a skirmish does not break out. And a few of them are getting drunk, Reese accused. Possibly you're their role model. What about the Amishmen, the technicians, the loyalists? They have nobody telling them to stay calm, Lonnie said. I'll make sure they do, Alex promised. Just make sure my people end up okay. They'll need a new leader, Lonnie stated. What about your mommy? Reese poked. She's gone, Lonnie decided. It's time for somebody new. I will if your people behave themselves. I'm going to make Zone 6 a place of peace, Alex decided. Stop being dramatic, Lonnie. You won't die, Reese claimed. I didn't say I will, but my family has taken ownership of the libertarians for too long. I'll do it, Alex promised. Unfortunately, I won't be joining you, David revealed. I have seen so little of this world. Greatness as an inventor will only be accomplished when I venture to places I have never been and discover textures that are unknown, but I'll always bring my findings back. I better see it first, Reese warned. Don't waste your life, Reese, Alex requested. I want to come with you. After what we've done, relaxing doesn't feel the same, Reese stated, his eyes drifting to two beautiful women many feet away. Besides, the possibilities are endless. The Alliance had grown impatient. The small fights that Lonnie referred to were beginning to expand. Alex stood. It was time. Alex's failures gnawed at him as he prepared to speak, making him apprehensive. He doubted if he would be able to take full command of what stood before him. Whether he was worthy of making the correct decisions not only in battle but in the aftermath. All that brought him down, Alex pushed aside. It was time to end Conrad's reign. "The Hive is a human," Alex revealed. His words caused the crowd to give him their full attention. He went by the name of Conrad Westwick, a legend of the old world, part of the reason why it came together as one. He lives within the city. He is the Hive, and he terrorizes us because human beings were going to take alien planets for their own. He thought we couldn't coexist with them. He was right, but we need to prove him wrong. Be better than our past. The people who you're standing beside right now, consider them to be your brothers and sisters. Not just now, but forever. Treat every human that way. Even loyalists, even those who are taken. Alex raised his hand and slowly peeled off his glove, revealing the W that marked him as former property of Conrad. "I spent time with Conrad. I was forced to work under his regime. It's a part of my past. I'm not ashamed of it. From it, I learned that he's dying, but it wants a new host. If it picks wrong, our world will fall. If the right people rise, man will ascend into something greater." Alex stepped back from his position, terrified that his words would result in nothing but laughter and interruptions. Instead, the force of over 200 nodded in agreement, ready for battle. Ready to be led. Alex expanded his golden mecha, covering his body. "Let's move out," Alex commanded as his helmet crashed downward, shrouding his head with a golden crown. The front line consisted of formidable power. It was where the majority of vehicles chose to linger alongside wielders of mecha suits, flamethrowers, RPGs, and plasma weapons. David and Lonnie were amongst them, roles that they had chosen for themselves. They were backed by a mixture of characters. The right flank were outcasts, former loyalists, technicians, and Amishmen who had only a few of their own within the Alliance. The left was a collection of libertarians and collective soldiers who remained with their squads, which were designated long before the Alliance's formation. A few Amishman scouts were sent ahead, riding beasts and two-wheeled vehicles, making Alex decide on a direct attack. There had been changes made to the Zone 6 outskirts. The trenches had been completed. Additional troughs had been added. The guard towers that were once empty husks had been filled. The front gate remained with the same bars of purple plasma. "Section 1, Alex called. The entire communication system of the Alliance had been set to one untapped frequency courtesy of David. Attack the towers. Before moving, Alex reminded himself of Patton, a boy who did not deserve his ending. Takeo, a man corrupted, and Hives, an elder made a coward, and how their fates were orchestrated by Conrad. Alex lifted his hand and brought it downward. The action propelled the front lines forward onto the outskirts. Those within the guard towers made the first attack with inaccurate bullets towards the assault. The first wave broke off in different directions, making sharp turns, scattering the enemy's fire. The Alliance's first reaction was to cause the fall of the towers through threaded attacks on the towers' legs, forcing them to crumble onto the ground, pushing the guardsmen from their elevated positions. Alex used his suit to jump high onto the tower's platforms. On his first attempt, he blasted cool ice to make the enemy's body unmovable. He moved to a second tower and magnetically pushed on its steel legs, forcing the guardsmen to jump from the tumbling structure. Through his actions, Alex was able to get a closer look at the defenders. They had fresh W markings on their malnourished bodies. Alex did not recognize their faces as citizens he had seen, confirming their status as refugees to the city. A group untrained for war who had spent their lives searching for a cause, finding it eventually in defending the Hive. They gave up quickly by running towards the trenches. When close to death, they begged for forgiveness, dropping to their knees, throwing their weapons aside, and pledging loyalty to the Alliance. The skirmish was too fast-paced for their request to be considered. Most were either shot down from the crossfire between those within the trenches and the Alliance, or were brutally crushed by a pursuing vehicle. From the trenches, turrets released a strike of revenge. A truck in front of Alex had its tires penetrated, forcing it to flip, killing those inside. Additional vehicles soon shared the same result. The retaliation from the Alliance was swift. They jumped into the first trench and cut down those who opposed them. Alex joined in, primarily using his magnetic cannon not to kill, but to injure. Within the trough, he spotted a tuft of back hair, and at first he thought it was Takeo. The man turned and showed his unknown face. He'd become a helpless victim of war. His body was ripped in half by the steel claws of an Amishman. The citizen beside him fell through a purple portal generated by a former technician, disappearing forever. A bullet bounced off Alex's steel back, unable to reach his skin. He turned to face the perpetrator. and saw that before him a refugee screamed for revenge. Alex pushed the man without touching him, his magnet sending the enemy deep into the ground. The defenders within the first trench were quickly killed by steel, lead, and plasma. The Alliance advanced. Those in the further trenches peeked from their cover to investigate the carnage. In defense, they used pistols. The shots rattled the dirt but did not hit the Alliance. Many climbed out from the pits below. They ran to the Zone 6 entrance and screamed for help. Their pleas went unheard. From the top of the concrete wall, snipers and turrets pelted below. Mecha suits take out the turrets on the wall. The technicians and collectives flew into the air and destroyed the turrets above. The brick crumbled. The bodies on top of the wall fell either back inside the city or plummeted outside it. Those in the second trench were murdered. The occupiers of the third searched for a savior. Alex chose to take the role. "Hold your fire." Alex's message went unheard. The Alliance violently continued their crusade, painting the dirt red. "They can be hostages." The refugees curled on the ground, tearfully accepting their end. "They can be property." His third offering broke through to the group. The killing mostly stopped. The unsettling nature of his own troops sickened Alex. Before he could say another word, the plasma bars dissipated and the steel door rose. The refugees turned towards it and extended their hands. From a sliver within the door, a claw emerged and sliced through the closest refugee. Additional talons slithered through the opening and killed them, not by the hand of the Alliance, but of modified animals. Conrad. He sent forth a cohort of the same bear that Alex had faced off against on the island. They all had 6 limbs, 6 eyes, and claws that cut through human bodies with ease. From above the concrete wall, a group of both small bees and hefty vultures sprang into the sky. A black swarm of danger. "Don't shoot yet," David called. On a motorcycle, he advanced forward, moving past the Alliance, making himself the first to face Conrad. His hand held a hand grenade. "Hold your fire," Alex shouted. David lobbed the explosive at the approaching animals. Once it landed, an explosion of blue light came from the ground. The bears submitted to its power. They froze in place, hard gray spilling from their lips. David retreated back to the Alliance. "EMP bomb, an invention of mine." The Hive's flying mammals descended in a swarm. The bullets that came for it were ineffective. The bees ate away at Alliance bodies. Once a stinger was implemented, the insects regrew another. Alex was protected by his metal skin, and when a swarm came towards him, he pushed it away, sending the insects flying in an alternative direction. Once blown upwards, he used a blast of ice to freeze their flight pattern. "Handicap them," Alex called as he learned that the insects were too small for bullets. He set an example by continuing to utilize his cool air. His lead was followed. The animals were killed by the use of electrical currents, firestorms, and rays of ice. The bears reached the Alliance. One vaulted through the air and crashed within Alex's vicinity. It used its left claws to swipe at him, an attack he avoided by sending his magnet to the ground and propelling himself backwards. In the process, he tripped, and as the bear thrust towards him, Alex shot a beam of plasma at the animal's head. Green blood exploded from the hole. A second charged directly towards Alex. Its speed was unmatched by any human opponent that Alex had faced. While charging, it lifted its mouth, and a wave of supersonic energy burst from its mouth so powerful that it knocked Alex onto his back. He fell through the trench and tumbled backwards, but his recovery was quick, and as the beast slashed downwards, Alex fell once again as he jumped backwards, narrowly missing the deadly tips of its claws. Alex blew cool air towards the animal, hoping to stop it in its place, but his attempt failed as the beast responded with a second scream. The sound waves broke, though Alex's blast of winds and forced him deeper into the ground. He could not move. The unfamiliar feeling of being unable to move anything left Alex screaming. As the bear screamed, it slowly stalked closer. Alex refused to use any of his long-range defense mechanisms, for they would only backfire within his own skin. The bear was a mere foot away from him. The pounding screech brought great irritation to Alex's ears. He refused to close his eyes, staring at the animal into Conrad as death descended upon him. Alex embraced death, its cool touch itching upon his skin. The bear raised his claws, but its screeching ended, due to a close-range laser blast. The bear turned towards its originator and pierced their flesh with 2 of its available arms. A scream tore through the air. Alex rose and saw that it was Private Hazel who had saved his life, sacrificing her own in the process. In a bid for revenge, Alex struck upwards at the animal's right arms, managing a clean strike with his sword. The animal screamed as its arms were decapitated from its body. Its electronic innards were exposed, meshed with natural organs, flesh, and blood, leaving it with its 2 legs and unnatural left arms. It slashed towards Alex. He backed away, his anger over Hazel's death fueling his movement. She was young and innocent, having suffered a fate that Alex knew he would have to deliver to Conrad himself. The animal followed his flow of movement. It remained on its hind legs, unable to descend downwards, but even with its great injury, it did not slow down, constantly slashing at Alex, not allowing him to make any accurate shots against it. An opportunity arose when the beast tried to force Alex into the ground with another supersonic scream. Learning from Takeo, Alex used the attack to move forward while the enemy was engaged with its rage. He pushed it away with his magnet. The heaviness of the animal brought forth a great strain, but eventually the beast tumbled backwards, defenseless against him. Alex detracted his sword and slashed the animal's remaining arms. Alex jumped forward and stabbed its mouth, then its legs. The bear fell to the ground, rendering it useless in battle. Alex climbed on top of it, whispering into the bear's ear. "I'm the best you could have had," Alex said, knowing that the message would reach Conrad.